Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Raw review for the 28th of March 2022. This is the last Raw before WrestleMania. Probably the weakest WrestleMania hype that I've ever seen here. Uh, anyway, so Michael Cole's at the announce table, four-man booth. Brock Lesnar enters, starting the show. Get a SmackDown recap. Lesnar is happy. Uh, Crowd's chanting "One at Lesnar" during his promo. Roman Reigns is going to take a trip to Suplex City. Lesnar said the journey would end with a marriage between the two world championships. Not a great promo, but it's Brock Lesnar, so they ate up what he said anyway. Miz enters and announces. Announcers run down tonight's card. Miz introduces Lucha Logan, and Logan Paul enters wearing a Rey Mysterio mask. This is just stupid. And they actually think that Logan Paul is going to matter in terms of. I mean, I can get the idea that as a celebrity, he might get a value there. Anyway, Rey and Dominic interrupt. Dominic attacks The Miz. He goes after Paul, but the referee holds him back from ringside for the upcoming match. Cole mentions that Dominic doesn't wear a mask to wrestle because he hasn't earned it like Ray did when he was 17 years old. He didn't mention Dominic's on the verge of becoming 25. So, comparing father and son, not a good plan. Rey Mysterio defeats The Miz with Logan Paul, 5:28. Ray wins with a quick roll-up. Most of it happened during the commercial break, so that shows us how much we care about the match. Anyway, Dominic runs out and shoves Paul into the middle rope. Mysterio tries to a double 619, but then they escape. Ray manages to take his mask back. Mysterios do give The Miz a double 619, and each lands a frog splash. Clip of John Cena winning his world title against JBL at WrestleMania 21. Man, back then people actually cared about undercard matches. Anyway, Veer is coming next week. Video package with Seth Rollins fails to earn a spot at WrestleMania. They even add clips of Paul, Johnny Knoxville, and Pat McCaffrey claiming spots. Seth Rollins, Vince McMahon video. They air the video. Rollins meeting with Vince at headquarters. It was posted online. Basically, the idea behind this is that Vince is surprised Rollins failed to earn his way onto Mania. Vince said he will give him a match at Mania with a mystery opponent, and, well, Vince gets up and celebrates. This is completely stupid. If you have a major debut, why are you holding it off as a surprise? Oh, yeah, because you don't really care if people tune in or not, because you've got your blood money from the Peacock Network. Anyway, 1-on-2 handicap match almost defeats the Viking Raiders via countout in under a minute. Match is sloppily put together, almost nails Eric with a clothesline. Eric rolls out of the ring, can't make it back in 10 count despite his partner trying to help. After the match, there's a kick by Almost, and then we go to Kevin Patrick asked Almost who he'd like to face, and before he could say much, Bobby Lashley enters. Lashley looks at the sign, Almost and Lashley square off, so that's been added to the pay-per-view. Are we supposed to care about this? Anyway, second hour begins. Reggie has something he wants to say to Dana Brooke, but claims he never got the time. Reggie then gets down on one knee, and so they don't have to wait till Mania to have their moment. Brooke then said that he didn't have to do this now. Reggie pulls out a diamond ring. Brooke says yes. Before they could embrace, Brooke is attacked by Tamina. Tamina tries to pin Brooke, but Reggie pulls her off, and they escape. Tozawa approaches Tamina and asks her to marry him. He presented a ring. It seemed like she was going to slap him, but she smiled and said yes, so a double wedding. Maybe they're going to switch partners in the middle. Roman Reigns promo. Reigns enters with Paul Heyman and the Usos. Cole said that Reigns hasn't been pinned or submitted since December of 2019. That's a really long time. And this weekend would be the sixth time he main evented WrestleMania. That's a lot of time for him to be a main eventer and only feel relevant for the last 2 years. Anyway, Reigns said that he ran Monday Night Raw until Fox begged him to save SmackDown. The crowd gave him what treatment again, and he said he'd smash Steve Austin. Reigns said he'd done it all except beat Lesnar at Mania, and that ticked him off. Crowd chants Suplex City in his general direction. Reigns then recalled getting busted open by Lesnar at WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, and then it's so bad the kids didn't recognize him. His father doubted him and his family. He looked down at the Usos and disappointed in him. Reigns then gets a receipt by taking Lesnar's blood at Madison Square Garden. Queen Zelina and Carmella do a photo shoot with their title belts and speak about what they did last week. Shayna Baszler and Natalya showed up and issued a warning. Baszler and Natalya advised them to follow their lead tonight before they take titles at Mania. They announced that Rick and Scott Steiner would get inducted into the Hall of Fame. They include clips of Scott as WCW champion. 8-woman tag match filler. Sasha Banks, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and Liv Morgan defeat Natalya, Shayna Baszler, and Zelina and Carmella. 8:32. Why is this the longest match of the show so far? Anyway, heels work over Sasha Banks through the break, but they couldn't get along long enough for anything good to happen. Banks manages to tag out. Banks, Naomi, and Morgan each hit Zelina with a move before Ripley finishes her off with the Riptide. This is just filler. Big Steve Austin video package to Kid Rock's Bawadada from like 1999. So proof that like the last 20 years of WWE hasn't mattered, that they can't come up with a new level video package. Anyway, Kevin Owens promo. Owens calls the video an incredible tribute and said nobody did these video better than the Angels of WWE production truck. However, nothing could compare to his Austin tribute last week. People accused him of mocking Austin, but he wasn't. Crowd yelled, "What?" at Owens. Owens then mentioned again that KO show would be the main event of WrestleMania. He said his performance last week was the closest we'd get to the old Stone Cold Steve Austin, being gone for 19 years and he'd never coming back. He's going to be Stone Cold on Saturday. It would be just Steve, the same Steve that's been drinking himself into an oblivion for nearly 20 years, despite desperately inviting people to his ranch to speak about good old days on his podcast. Owens then said Austin looked and sounded like the old Stone Cold, but he wasn't going to pick a fight with him because he couldn't. Owens then was happy to give Austin a send-off he deserved on the KO show. Owens admitted that he hated beer, but he's willing to have one with Austin. He said they could toast Austin passing the torch to the new Stone Cold, the real master of the stunner. Owens 316 says his stunner's better than yours. Owens warned Austin that if he tried to get funny with him, he'd have a stunner with Steve's name on it, and that's the bottom line because KO said so. This is probably the best thing on the show, really. Lashley and Omos is made official for Mania. Ricochet will defend the IC title on SmackDown against Angel and Humberto in a triple threat match. Do we really care about that? And why is the Intercontinental title in a throwaway segment not even on WrestleMania? Anyway, non-title match, Austin Theory defeats Intercontinental Champion Ricochet 1 minute 44 seconds. Why even have him get dressed for this? Pittsburgh crowd chanted, "We want Pat." And then Theory wins abruptly with the ATL in under 2 minutes. We enter the third hour, and this show feels really long. Announcers speak about Triple H's retirement from wrestling. Bianca Belair says her existence is threatened by Becky Lynch and why she acted that way she did. That's why Lynch attacked her and why she insults week after week. Belair congratulates Lynch on taking her out for a whole week, but then she's back feeling like she's never left. Lynch then tries to stop her and failed, and then has nothing left, but Belair was coming for Lynch on Saturday. Lynch's music hits and tries to attack from behind. Belair then saw it coming. Belair then puts the boots to Lynch, but turned her back, and Lynch yanked her down by the hair. Lynch then attacks her with a steel chair. Lynch then pulls out a large pair of scissors and grabs Belair braid as officials run down to ringside. Before Lynch could cut her hair, Belair then laid out with two KODs. Belair grabs the scissors and cuts chunks out of Lynch's hair. Belair eventually stops and leaves, hold bits of Lynch's hair. Lynch then gets up and freaks out and said hair clippings, crowd chanted, "You deserve it." Announcers run down the WrestleMania card. Earlier today, Corbin advised Moss to stay on the apron and watch him work. Moss makes a joke at Corbin's expense, which he didn't appreciate. Hopefully those two aren't going at it anytime soon. 102 handicap match. Why do we have these? Drew McIntyre defeats Baron Corbin and Madcap Moss at 154. And there's a pay-per-view match between Corbin and McIntyre at the pay-per-view, isn't there? Why? What? Just why? Anyway, after the lockup didn't go his way, Corbin tags out to Moss. McIntyre has his way with Moss and sends him around, hits him with a Claymore kick for the pinfall win. Corbin attacks McIntyre from behind after the match, lays him out. At the end of days, Corbin then grabs McIntyre's sword and leaves it with Moss. Edge's promo. Edge does promo in the dark room backstage. On the table in front of him are scales of justice. They're painted black. Edge said that AJ Styles would have a match of ages on Sunday, but Styles' fate's already sealed. He then placed a ring on something on the scale, which tripped him to the side. Edge then chucks before standing him to the canvas, and then this is just, I mean, it's a underwhelming promo. After the break, basically the promo gets a little more out of control. Styles thought Edge has changed and figured Edge was trying to get in his head. Edge then wanted the Pitbull, but then he's going to get much worse. Non-title match, Raw Tag Champs Orton and Riddle defeat SmackDown Tag Champs The Usos. 15 minutes, 24 seconds to close the show. Why is this closing the show? They go to break a minute into the match after Orton and Riddle have each other dropped. The Usos are dropped on the announce table. Orton then fights off Jimmy Uso, tags into Riddle. Riddle hands him suplexes before hitting Jay with a senton for a near fall. Responds with a Samoan drop for a near fall. The Usos then take control and toss Riddle over the barricade into the Timekeeper's area, leading to another break. The Usos then remain in control until Riddle hits Jay with a running knee. Riddle then makes the hot tag to Orton to give Jimmy a power slam. Jay blind tags in. Jay then hits a schoolboy, but Orton gives him a power slam also, and then Riddle wipes out Jimmy with a dive as Orton gives Jay a draping DDT. Orton gets ready for the RKO. Street Profits run in and attack him for the DQ. Nakamura and Boogs jump in and attack the Usos, clearing them from the ring. Basically, RKO is given to Ford and Dawkins. Orton and Riddle pose for the crowd. Announcers run down the big WrestleMania matches as the show ends. What a weak way to build to the biggest show of the year. But it's WWE in 2022. What else do you want, I suppose? Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.